this on. Testing. All right, thanks everyone for coming. First item is going to be approval of the agenda.
Nothing to add to it? So moved?
All right.
Second?
We've started
All
around.
right. Motion by Deb, second by Bob to approve the agenda. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passed unanimously. Tim will be here shortly. Too.
Oh,
He's just
okay.
running a little late, just FYI. All right, next item, approval of the minutes. We have the regular meeting dated January 14th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bob, seconded by Van to approve the January 14th, 2020 minutes. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, next item, public input and ideas. Possibly, maybe.
Come on.
You're kind of leaning forward?
I wasn't gonna jump right in, but I just wanted a chance to come before the board and introduce myself. My name's Terry Hauer. I'm the new executive director of the Polk County Economic Development Corporation. So as most of you probably know, Vince has gone on to be the administrator for our county. Vince and I are both from the Balsam Lake area, and I'm kind of taking over where he left off.
Okay.
So a couple of different initiatives that we're working on that's kind of current is the housing study. So Osceola participated in that housing study. We're having the wrap-up session for that this upcoming Monday at the Government Center from 5 to 6:30. And that'll be the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission presenting all of the findings. And then also, what can we do with those findings? How can we get developers, builders, and other people interested in housing opportunities in our county? So that'll be Monday night, and we'll also, as the Economic Development Corporation, be doing some follow-up with that information as well. Another one of our initiatives is workforce development. The housing study identified that 12,000 people leave our county every day to go to their job, and we would love to try and retain some of that workforce with good jobs and good housing here. So we're also going to be launching a special workforce campaign geared for that market that is hoping to stay in this area. And then we continue with broadband initiatives. Even though many in the city areas are served, there are still those in the rural area that are not. And broadband is a huge utility, basically nowadays, that needs to be provided. So we continue to do that, along with support all the other educational things and all those in the county that we're doing. So I just wanted a chance to introduce myself, let you know I'm here, and I've already met with Ben a few times, working on a few different things.
Perfect.
So let me know if I can do anything for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just one question, the housing study, February 17th, you said?
February 17th,
here?
5 o'clock at the Polk Government Center.
At the Polk County
In
Government
Balsam
Center.
Lake.
All right, thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Anyone else? All right, we will be closing out public input. Next item, we have staff reports. First is going to be police. I believe AJ will be presenting tonight. I suppose I should be more professional, not just AJ.
Just gotta
Hey, guys.
get deadline.
As you know, Ron's at his annual conference, so I will be delivering the report tonight. In January 2020, OPD officers made 8 custodial arrests, including 1 felony and 7 misdemeanor and 1 felony arrests. Officers logged a total of 114 traffic stops that resulted in 42 traffic citations. Osceola PD officers also issued 21 municipal citations, 3 of which were for truancy. 77 incident reports were processed, and a total of 450 calls for service were logged by officers. Some other incidents OPD officers responded to in January include 13 suspicious activities calls, 6 motor vehicle accidents, 9 assist other LE agencies, 3 suicide attempts or threats, 7 juvenile incidents, 3 911 hangups, and 2 disturbances. For the administration, Ron Hesme noted that after a longer than expected delay, the COPS grant was finally opened in January. This will be a highly competitive grant and is anticipated that many agencies nationwide will apply for what is considered limited funding. This is a financially excellent opportunity for the village to gain one full-time police officer position back at a 75-25% wage and fringe split for 3 years. If approved to apply for this grant, but not selected to receive the position, I'm hopeful our chances will be improved for the 2021 COPS grant opportunities. On January 15th, there was a community presentation on gender, identity, and sexuality held at the Osceola High School. This informative and data-based presentation was made possible by an AODA grant written by Osceola High School students. OPD partnered with the Osceola School District and the Osceola Medical Center to host this community event. This presentation was very informative and well attended. We received positive feedback from many in attendance. On January 16th, the Osceola Girl Scout Daisy Troop visited the Osceola Police Department. Officer Tannen Rebin and Chief Pedries provided a tour of the police department, talked with the troop members, and answered questions that they had. They also fingerprinted each Daisy Scout member and gave them an OPD stick-on badge and tattoos to take home. They were a great group. In January, Osceola Police Department stopped issuing handwritten parking citations and switched to citations through TRAX. TRAX is the program used to write all other traffic citations. This change will not be fast as handwritten parking citations, but will help track all parking citations issued more efficiently. Unpaid citations will be sent to the state debt collection for payment. This service comes at no cost to the village. We will also have a cost savings because we will no longer have to order and pay for custom parking citations and payment envelopes. January 18th, I attended the new vaping program initiative through Osceola High School. Essentially, first-time students that are caught with tobacco products will be given an opportunity to go through the in-depth program, which is kind of like a diversion program where if they complete the multi-week program, they won't be referring any citations to us to issue. If they do not complete that, then they'll be referring it to the police department for citations. In closing, our community coffee event this month will be held on February 21st and February 28th. The event runs from 8:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock a.m.
Cool.
That's it.
Excellent.
I got a question.
Yeah.
For the 3 suicide threats or attempts, was there any transports or anything, or was there a safety plan that was?
I don't believe that we've had any transports for a little while, so
That's good.
I'm guessing that they were just safety plans or self-help.
Yeah. It's great.
All right.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
AJ.
Thank
Yeah, no problem.
All right, next is Public Works.
Okay, both the Public Works and Utilities coordinators are off tonight. The report's in front of you. The big things I want to note is that, it's been a very gentle winter, which is really appreciated. We're able to catch up on other things.
Well, you cursed it now.
Whatever. I've been saying it all winter, and we've really been very lucky. It's already midway through February, and we haven't had the winters that we've had in the past so far. So okay, Deb, there's a little bit to go.
It ain't over yet.
But the good thing is we're able to catch up on a few other items we have, most of which is in front of you here. The treatment plants are continuing to function at high capacity, but well within ranges. As the spring melts becomes of what limited snow we have does occur, we always see an influx of that. While we in the village have a strong I&I program, or the infiltration program, some of our other communities, just water bleeds in, and that means that more water is treated, processes more, it costs more. So hopefully those will continue to go down. Other than that, everything seems to be running very smoothly in our community, which is nice to see.
Excellent. Cool. All right, library.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Evening.
Okay, so back to just a normal month. I don't have a presentation today.
You don't have visuals, you still have a presentation.
Yeah,
Just no
that's true.
visuals.
Yeah. So administratively, I have been very busy this last month. working on our annual report, which tracks all of our, basically everything that the library does throughout the year. Revenues, expenditures, activities, attendance, I mean, everything. It's a big report. And then we submit that to the state. So I'm just finishing that up. But that has occupied a lot of my time the last month. As far as circulation goes, we're up again from last year at this time. January is a really difficult month to really track circulation because last January is a lot different weather-wise than this January. But it still looks good. I just don't know if that's because last year was a little bit tougher as far as getting people in here. But yeah, everything's still up. As far as collections go, we spent last month working on inventory, which we finished up at the end of the month. And we've also added a new iPad in the kids area that's preloaded. It's not connected to the internet or anything, but it's preloaded with fun and educational games and a lot of like literary games for kids ages 4 to 10. But the other thing that I wanted to start, and I'll try and do this every month, is I want to feature, and you'll see in your report from me, feature a collection every month that the library has, just to let everyone in on some of the smaller collections that we have or the services that we're offering that maybe a lot of people don't know about. So this month I'm featuring our Lucky Day collection, which is a special collection that is extra copies that we purchase that are only available to Osceola patrons. So these items don't go out on hold. They do have to be an additional item, so we have to already have that item in our collection that is going out on holds throughout the system. And these items do have shorter checkout periods and are the only collection in the library that still has late fees on it. So this collection looks a lot like the newest, most popular items that have a lot of holds on it throughout the system. So they're available for people who come in and pick them up for a shorter period. But a good example of these, and you see the little graphic there has a couple pictures of some new movies on it, but they're a good example. So Gemini Man, for example, that's on here, has 158 holds on it throughout the system. Maleficent has 187, and Joker has 246. So all three of these items are available on our shelves right now that you can pick up for a 3-day checkout period. So it's kind of a cool collection. I really like it. It's a very expensive collection to maintain, so we might not have a lot of newer stuff, but we do try and keep up with it as much as we can. Not every library has a Lucky Day collection, but ones who do, like ours, don't have to wait as long, weeks or even months for the newest and most popular items. So
Cool.
That's the Lucky Day collection. Okay, as far as events and activities go, kind of a standard month. Again, January is a really hard time for programming too because people get kind of cooped up in their houses. But our winter reading program for adults is starting. We have a lot of great programs planned coming up in the next couple months, from beekeeping to knitting, cooking, and crafting. So there's a lot of fun different things that we're doing. So check that out if you're interested. And lastly, facilities and staff. We do have a new online catalog that started today. So we're very busy with explaining to people how to use it, but it's going pretty well so far. It's a really fun new catalog that includes things, if you're familiar with like Goodreads, for example, you can now put book reviews on the catalog, or you can rate things for other patrons of our library system to see. You can also make shelves that have, you can collect books that you've already read on it, digital shelves. Books that you've read or books that you're interested in reading. So it's all kind of in one place, a lot more personalized if you choose to use it that way. So
Is it in the same place as, is it
it's
the
the
Moore Library
Yep, it's
system
the
still?
same
It
web
just-
address. Yep, nothing has changed. Last month we did have a patron access website that had a different address, but now everything has been switched over. So the new catalog is fully on there and on the same website. So yeah.
I would also like to thank you for getting that book that I requested, the library, not you specifically, but from Wichita, I believe is where it came up
Yep.
from, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. ILLs, they're fun.
Yeah.
So
Just have to have them back on time.
Yes, you're supposed to. Those ones, I guess Ann told me after you left that she did get a letter from them, so that they're looking for it. So we get letters too.
I
We
returned
also
it
get
hours
OT
ago.
letters. So, yeah.
On the downloadable media
Yeah.
circulation,
Yeah.
I don't remember what that is.
That's like if you use the app Libby, or if you've heard of Libby, it's where you can get ebooks, e-audiobooks. I think there's actually some movies that you can watch too on there, but not very many, so don't go there for your streaming. But it's an app that people can use. They put in their library card, sign up for it, and then you can download ebooks directly to your phone or your tablet. Or e-audiobooks, and then after the checkout period has passed, it automatically returns itself. So it's a growing popular way for people to access a lot of books and audiobooks, and we still get circulation for it. So, a lot of people wonder why libraries are important when you have a library in your pocket. Well, now you can have it for free. You don't have to pay $15 a month for Audible. You can listen through your library. So
And it's called
Interesting.
Libby.
it's called
It
Libby.
works well.
Yes.
I did download it.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is.
So it
Yep,
goes,
it's really
it
great.
goes from the library system into your phone.
Yes, yep, our library system maintains a collection, so we don't specifically have our own, Osceola doesn't, because licensing is very expensive for ebooks and for e-audiobooks.
Okay.
But the system as a whole does, so collectively with our 50 other libraries in the Moore system, we all use the same materials, if that makes sense, digital materials.
Yeah,
So it's
sure.
kind of hard to picture, but yeah, it's a really great app.
Interesting.
If you like audiobooks, it's a great way to do it. They do get a lot of holds on it, so it might take a little bit longer than a normal book, for example, but yeah.
So it takes it off the phone then once it's
Yeah.
expired?
Yep, it does it all for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a limited number of, it's all licensing, so there's a limited number of ebooks
Okay.
for a specific title that we can check out at one time. Because we're basically checking out the license to that person for the checkout period,
Sure.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
any other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon. Fire, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, Don.
This past month, we ended up having 10 runs, or 11 altogether, 10 within the village. One in the Farmington Township. The breakdown of those is that we had 3 lift ascents with 970, 1 vehicle fire, 5 alarms between smoke detectors and CO detector, 1 traffic, and then 1 chimney fire. The biggest thing for us was this past weekend that we had our fireman's ball. I think it was another great success, fun time by all. Our band was awesome that we had hired, and I believe everybody had a good time. So thank you to the ones that came. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Thanks for coming up, Ben, last night and talking to the fire department. I think those guys like hearing what you have to say, so gives them a little more confidence in what our future and stuff like that. So thank you for that. Other than that, we've got a few things we still have to finish up ourselves at the fire hall, which from last year we need to get our floor sealed. We have everything for that. We just need the time to do it. That'll probably be later this spring when things kind of warm up a little bit outside. But other than that, the building's been working out just fine and no issues there that we can handle. This week we'll be doing all the maintenance on all the vehicles. We've hired Carvita to come in and change oil and check everything. Just trying to set up a process for the future there so things get done right. So that's what we're working on. So basically, that's all I have. You guys have any questions?
Any word on how the ball went or the number or anything?
Yeah, financially, it wasn't our best year, it wasn't our worst year. Every year is a different crowd. It's interesting to see, the Wisconsin slang about how much you're going to drink and all that. But this year, it was a slow start, but they still loved their beer. Our wine was down. Robin's daughter's desserts were gone, I think, in the first 15 minutes. But other than that, I believe the atmosphere was relaxed and comfortable, and everybody was there listening to the good band. And I haven't been much of a horn person, but I think in the last 4 years, you know, we've added bands with more horns, and just, I'm becoming that type of a music listener, I guess, now, especially when your sister embarrasses you in front of everybody to get you out there because you just got married last November. So it was kind of my wedding dance too, I guess. So, yeah, she's over there hiding after she was just talking to the lead band director, and it's, oh, thank you. So,
Yeah, it's a great event, and if you haven't been, try to make it next year. It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it gets easier and easier. We've got a great group with Joey and Robin and a few others on our police and or on our Osceola Friends of the Fire Department. And Joey's done a good job of just, he pulls out his laptop, bingo, we're done. This is what we need to do, and we do it. So it's becoming easier and easier to do this every year. So big thank you to those guys and their wives and husbands and family members who also jump in and help with that also. So other than that, that's all I got. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Don.
All right, building permits.
Okay. Yep, building permits are in front of you. We're starting 2020 off the way we like to see it. We see 2 new home constructions and a few more permits. These home constructions matter, not only because we want to see people live in our community, but as Terry suggested, there's a housing shortage. So continuing to see growth in our community is really important to address that issue, as well as it shows that this community, unlike maybe others in our region, is growing, is continuing to perform well. So every month you'll continue to get these, and hopefully we'll keep seeing those numbers increase.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions or comments by anybody? Nope. All right, administration.
Okay, just a few things for you today, and as I was telling some of the people up here, someday I'll get it written down for you instead of just speaking it off, but I don't want to set that bar so high that I have to always write them. We're well on our way in our 2019 audit. While last year it was into November before everything got done because of the complexity of it and everything that happened in with this projects and everything. This year we're hoping to have it done, you know, early July. That's our goal, because that's when Kathy Schnelly, our lead agent, retires. So when she's gone, we just lost 20 years of great experience about the village. But we'll continue to update you on that. I got about 99 different things I need to do on that list, and then we'll plunk away at it. Last year, I wasn't able to focus on a lot of what I really was hired to do. We had to tackle a lot of things that were less exciting, but still very important. Now I'm really excited to do some of the things that you guys wanted to see happen. As such, I'm working with staff to completely revamp how we display information on our website. It's a great tool that isn't used well enough, and I'm excited to be a part of that. I really enjoy website design, so in the coming months, you'll notice how we're going to do that differently. We're also going to be revamping how we do our newsletters. Instead of it being just a regurgitation of what a lot of residents already know, we're going to be using that as a resource to get new information out to them, and then again, guide it to our website. Websites are unlimited with size. Newspapers can be 3 or 4 pages. Also, we're going to be looking at refreshing our kiosks in Mill Pond Park and exploring placing those in other places, just so residents have an opportunity to see something new every month. Kind of thinking about a giant map, and then every month we have an arrow to a new part of the community that we want to highlight for that time. I've also had a few meetings that are important, not only meeting with our Economic Development Corp and our Industrial Development Corp, but also I've been meeting with some of our surrounding communities. As I mentioned, 19 was a little tough for me to get out and shake hands, but now I'm trying to get out there and get to know a few individuals. That matters because of the gravel pit discussion, this whole detachment discussion, annexations, extraterritorial zoning, all of these big words and projects, they all matter to our towns also. So getting to know those individuals are really important. I want to remind everybody that We have 5 elections this year. They're going to be varying from local all the way up to our national elections, so please be mindful of that. One of the things that we have to be very mindful of when it comes to this is this room is also used for elections. And because elections line on Tuesdays and our board and planning commission meetings are on Tuesdays, there will be times where board will not be in this room. Because, well, in my opinion, board comes secondary to the election process. So we'll be working with all of you as the board and residents to make sure you're all very well aware of where the board meetings are. After you come vote, of course, then just walk down the hall and hang out with us for a little bit. So we'll work with you on those. I know at the moment there's probably 4 meetings throughout the year that'll have to be shifted around if business is needed. Last 2 things I have for you is that Census 2020 is also going on right now. So as you begin to see information come into your front doors, please fill it out, help us out. It helps us get an accurate representation of where our community is, and it also ties to our state and federal funding opportunities. The more accurately we represent our community, the more accurately we get money allocated to us. A very small portion of our budget is related to local revenues. A big portion of the budget, of every community's budget, is state and federal funding that gets trickled down through grants and other opportunities. So please help us out with that. And then lastly, this is just a little nod to our American Legion, our local group. They're meeting in Senior Center very regularly. If anybody's interested in becoming a part of it, we would love to see you there. While it is for veterans and other support through veterans groups, it is still important for all of us to know how it's functioning. So as opportunities come out, outreach efforts and all of those, I encourage us all to keep those in the loop. They're great little meetings to go to, and I enjoy going to them myself. That's all I have for you.
Any questions, comments for Ben? Nope. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. All right, Chamber of Commerce and Main Street.
Good evening.
Hello, Jermaine.
Evening.
Hi, Jeremy.
So, January and February, kind of a quieter month, but we did have a very nice social mixer up at Tippecanoes, probably one of our largest, well, it was our largest social mixer. Very popular activity is the speed networking that people do, and we are so excited. There's just a ton of young people that are kind of stepping up and wanting to get involved in our community, and we're thrilled to see that happening. Ribbon cutting, lovely ribbon cutting at Pizza Cellar. Thank you, Deb, for coming and representing the village that day. Kind of fun. The OHS drum corps played and made kind of a nice splash that day. And our next upcoming things that are happening is our Rise and Shine Education Series is starting next Tuesday. And we were planning to have it here, but we're moving over to Midwest 1. So if anybody asks that questions or whatever, that it turned out to be one of your voting days. So we'll be over there for, and we'll put signs on the door, I think, in case there's any confusion. Then the next event is the Cocoa Crawl coming up on February 29th on Saturday. It's just 1 to 5 different businesses are going to be hosting and serving samples of different kinds of cocoa. And it's just an opportunity to bring people out during the winter and counteract some of that cabin fever that everyone's starting to get in February. So hopefully it'll be good turnout. And there is a Wild River Fitness is doing something in Mill Pond Park, a obstacle course, I guess is what they decided. And you can see in my report there, I just added a new section on new members. I hadn't been doing that on a regular basis, so you can see who's becoming new members here. We've got Cascade Nutrition, WJE Company, Due North Homes, and Eagle Ridge are brand new members. So the other things that I've been working on is I've been just trying to get out to visit some of our stakeholder folks, and met with Polaris, met with Trollhagen today, getting our 2 new employees oriented, and then getting all our new membership renewals up to date. And just interestingly enough, what you guys already know, just repeating it again, but just consistently the shortage of housing just keeps coming up over and over and over. Just met with a young couple that wants to move out here. Right, both got jobs out here, living in Minneapolis and want to move out here, just can't find any housing and don't see it happening anytime soon. They've been trying for a long time. So this will be on all of our agendas and concerns and try to figure out ways to make that happen. And then we sent out a bunch of Valentine's promotions through emails just to rev up a little bit of interest in shopping local, kind of some fun things that are happening around at our different downtown businesses. And then I see a few of our candidates here tonight and some incumbents, so we are going to host our, we did a recording last year with Osceola High School with their AV department. I think we're going to repeat that again, so I'll be contacting you guys that are running for office and do that. It seemed to be pretty successful and rather relaxed for most everyone and seemed to be a good way to get the word out about thoughts and the different candidates that are running this time. So we'll be facilitating that, coordinating that here in March.
Excellent.
Yeah. Any questions or anything?
Not right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I did mean to point out that Pat Flanders is here.
Hey, Pat.
Returning for a board position as well for a number of years now. Thank you,
Oh,
Pat.
yeah, you have the new board up and running now?
They're up and running,
All right.
yeah. Running is right.
There you go. Excellent.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you. All right. Next item, other business, discussion and possible action regarding. First thing is gonna be proposed school referendum update. And I think I saw April come in here,
Nope.
right?
Lynette.
Oh,
Oh, it's
Lynette?
Lynette today.
sorry.
I'm sorry for that. I thought April was going to be here today.
Hey, she was the one doing the.
You got these.
I think we.
Is it this?
Yeah.
I got one.
Thank you. Hand them out.
Thank you for your patience. We had a meeting at the district with parents, and as you can imagine, there were a lot of questions about financing and in particular tax impact for this. So thank you. Thanks for having me. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Lynette Edwards. I'm the business manager for the school district of Osceola. I started in April of last year, the day before the previous referendum failed on April 2nd. I'm also a new registered voting member in the village of Osceola, so yay.
Nice.
Thanks. So I wanted to come here tonight to kind of follow up. I'm sure you've heard the school district is going to referendum for 2 questions in April, on April 7th. The flyer, we hope, is a pretty good jump start on the information about the why, the what, and the how. And then the when can you get more information. We also have a website that has a lot of info on there. You'll see Bob as well walking through the buildings and showing things that are happening in the building and the needs that are there. So the 2 questions that we have are, one is an operational referendum, and it's $1 million for 2 years, and that's $1 million each year for 2 years. So I just want to clarify that. And that will go for educational programming and curriculum, transportation and safety, and then our staffing. And you can see on the brochure there, kind of the breakdown of where those dollars will go. Facility needs referendum planning. This would be a $10 million loan for facility needs at the high school, middle school, and intermediate school. And our priorities are safety, security, energy efficiency projects, HVAC, and lighting. And we did just post the complete list of those projects on our website as well. So the website is there. So what the Board of Education has committed to is a $0 total tax increase for the next 2 years with the passage of both of these referendums. So we are able to, with our current debt retiring very soon, we can fit both the $1 million operational for 2 years and make debt payments on a new loan with $0 increase in total school tax. And hopefully the chart here is helpful in kind of explaining that and mapping that out. Again, we'll have more information on the website that goes a little bit deeper into that. And then there are 4 scheduled community meetings, and we welcome the public to any of those. Question?
Do you have extra copies for the people in the audience?
Yes, I do.
All
Yes,
All right,
everyone got
good,
one. Thanks.
perfect, thanks.
I have them all.
So after each meeting, you'll be updating the FAQ and everything and?
Yes, we'll have a
Okay.
list of FAQs on the website as well. This flyer came off the press at 4 PM today, so we are just getting going on getting the materials and information materials out there. So, yeah, thank you.
I personally appreciate the breakdown of everything, because I think that's the one thing I'm sure you guys heard more than, like, many, many, many times,
Yeah,
is what's the money going for? And
Yeah.
I think that visually seeing that is very helpful.
yeah.
So I know you have the zero tax thing, everything, and will the paying off the debt and the ability to shift the money around as you will, kind of, if we have continued reduction in student population, will that offset? Because I would assume otherwise then, the amount that you're getting from the state is less, and then that would be one of the things that would be a potential for pushing tax increase.
Okay, so there's a couple things in your question, which is good. So as far as enrollment, the district has seen a slight decline in the last couple of years. This year, we actually added students. We added membership this year, and we're projecting pretty level numbers for the next few years. So we're using those. And yes, we're not really sure where state funding is going to go. We're going to be in the second year of the biennium. When the new state budget comes out, we'll have to take a look at where things are at here for the district with that as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
On the question number 2, the facility needs referendum planning. Facility needs referendum, facility needs at the high school, middle school, and intermediate school. I'm just wondering, is the elementary school, and
No.
I mean, it's an older building, but it's, I thought there was rumor about HVAC and some other stuff to be retrofitted or redone at the grade school or elementary school. So is that something that's not in the?
Right, so the elementary school was purposely left off the list because there is much bigger planning that needs to be done for the elementary school. And before that's decided, we would not want to invest any money into the school if that's not where we're going to be staying.
Okay, is it something that the building is doing okay as it is, or is this?
Can I switch my hats a second?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Bob,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So the elementary school functions fine right now. It's an aging building. We know the building's 50, 60 years old, parts of the
Right.
building are. The HVAC system is okay. It's safe and everything for the kids, but we're doing a $10 million referendum to try and help 3 of the buildings. We could do $10 million pretty easily at the elementary and not knock much off. And it's an aging building, like Lynette said. There's a bigger picture here that we're looking at where we're going next, and the building's fine. Everything's fine the way it is right now.
I think it should be HV, not HVAC, because there's no.
Yeah, there's no air conditioning at all. Yeah, true. Yep.
And that, I
Yeah.
remember it very well. So, and I also remember the 3rd floor on the old high school we used to have, and that was worse yet. But
There's also, a component too, because it's an aged building, once you would, start doing a lot of major improvements, then you, likely open up the ADA compliance, because we're grandfathered in right now. And many of the doors, the ramps, the entrances, everything else is not.
yeah,
It's grandfathered in right now.
so those upgrades could possibly affect that.
It would. once you start doing an upgrade like that, then your ADA code come in. You have to extend your ramps because they're not at the proper, and
Yep.
we have doors in the way, and yeah, it's a bigger, yeah.
I think people really, we're all facing a lot of interesting times with our budgets right now. And I think if we're just as upfront with all the information we can pour on to the people, the better. But
Agreed.
yeah, I know where you're coming from. I was just wondering if there was,
Yeah.
you know,
So Bob's list, and now I'll speak for you. So Bob's list, and he's been working on updating this list since 2014. So all facility needs across the district, not including the elementary school, is closer to $17 million. So the $10 million is really just picking those that are top priority and getting those done with this. So there are other projects that could be done.
yeah.
And same with the $1 million. The district previous operational referendums were asking for larger dollar amounts. We've really cut this back. It's a compromise. It doesn't bring back all of the programming and the resources and things that the district had even 5 years ago. But hopefully this would be a jump start to moving forward, and we can get some of those things.
Has there been any talk about from Madison on up as far as our schools getting a little bit better boost? Any word on that at all?
So Governor Evers is in a really tough spot right now because anything he wants to move forward with is voted down and vice versa. So it's really tough for him right now to get things passed for education. There's also a Blue Ribbon Commission. I am sure you've heard that term, that's reevaluating the funding formula that's been in place since 1993. It's just not working for districts anymore. Things have changed. So, for example, the operating referendum that we have on this ballot coming up, there are 103 schools in the state of Wisconsin right now that have an operating referendum that they're working under that pay more than 10% of their operating costs. So this isn't unique to Osceola, that we're not getting the operating dollars through the funding formula that we need, through those revenue limits. So as you know, commissions and government, it's not gonna happen next year
Right.
or even the year after, but hopefully soon.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Lynette.
All right, next item, Resolution 2003, outlining the terms of payment between the Village of Dresser and the Village of Osceola.
Okay, in front of you is a proposed referendum, my gosh, resolution to finally put this whole Dresser Village and Osceola Village thing to bed. We have met, we have coordinated the details, and I'm happy to say that both the Village of Dresser and village staff here agreed to a payment method to get paid back for the dues. Last week, the Village of Dresser did approve a mere copy of the resolution. Simply put, the agreement is that they're gonna pay us quarterly over the next 3 years until their balance is paid off. That's a $63,810 payment that comes back to us for services we provided. And that'll be done. They do have the option to pay it off ahead of time if they want at no penalty. And of course, this is a partnership between one friend and another, so we're not charging them interest on this. This was a joint error. This was a mutually beneficial agreement. So 0 interest, we're gonna get paid off in full, and then we move on. So their first payment will be due April 20th, and pending your agreement, this contract will go live tonight.
Have we put in anything in place so that we don't run into this 7 years, 8 years, 10 years down the line?
Yes, good question. This happened because of a failure in process. This was, there's 3 checks that get conducted, 2 out of the 3 were missed. one on us, one on them, and then the auditors found it. So it was a good fix and a good find. One thing we're doing at the basic point is ensuring that Dresser gets all of the documentation. They've never wanted it, but now we're gonna just give it to them, so they have it. And then secondly, we're doing our annual meetings aligning with this too. They're just things that were put on the wayside for a little bit, but we're bringing them back on board.
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion by Deb, second by Van to approve resolution 2003. Any questions or comments?
Just thank you, Ben, for being persistent on it.
Getting this worked out.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Yeah, thank you, Ben. All right, next, resolution 2004, support for vacating public-owned alleyway.
At our planning commission meeting last week, the planning commission did recommend approval of this resolution. We got a call in from a couple residents, property owners that own a rental property, and they're looking at disposing of that property. Unfortunately, it was found that one of their structures, a garage, was likely overhanging the property line. It's an old house in an older part of town. Lot lines changed, mapping changed, no one changed. Something caused the building to be put over. It's possible a permit was never even pulled for the building in the 30s when it was built. Well, to make a long story short here, the property owners asked us if we'd be willing to vacate one of our right-of-ways. We have an old alleyway between Chieftain and Kent that is just no longer needed. It's been treated as backyards for as far back as I could see the aerial photography go. And in this case, there's no benefit for the village to have it. But there are some legal steps that the village needs to take to properly detach any property. In this case, the first step is a resolution. All this does is provide staff with the guidance saying, yes, this board is comfortable with pursuing a release of this property. It doesn't release the property, but it allows us to move forward with it. The state law is very clear on how you dispose of right-of-way or discontinue it. In this case, you can't make a decision less than 40 days after the resolution's been completed. You must do a Class 3 notice, which means it must get notified to the adjacent property owners and put in public notice into a newspaper or whatnot 3 times in a row. So it's a little bit more strict than even the Class 2s that we normally do for notifications. So in this case, the resolution states that we are comfortable with vacating that portion of the right-of-way. There's no fiscal impact to the village, and then that we would then review it at a public hearing on April 14th at 5:45 p.m. Residents have the right to review this. Every property owner will get notified, and if any property owner has any concerns, that's their opportunity to speak their piece if they don't beforehand. This is one of the easy ones for me to recommend. I'm not keen on getting rid of village right-of-way, but this is a good one where there's no benefit for the village to have this property. It helps the property owner.
So right now, we're looking at just the one house.
Correct.
And this is, am I thinking right, that the property's between 8th and 9th? And there are 5, I believe, there.
Correct. There are.
So we have one that is requesting this. When we notify the other owners, what if they all say, we'd like this too? Can we clump them all together? Do we have to come back and redo this? What, I mean, not that it will or will not happen, may not happen, but I mean, part of it I think is just simply that people don't even realize that part, that this is an option, that it isn't their land or whatever. You know, and several of the people who live in the houses down there have been there for quite some time. So,
Good questions. The village did ask those questions, the planning commission. We did review some of those concerns. In this case, the property owner requesting it, it's tied to the sale of their property. The banks and some of the lending institutions have made it pretty clear that they're hesitant to provide any financing with a building that drapes over the boundary lines. This is the easiest fix for them there. We did entertain the notion, or planning commission did, about allowing all of them to be notified, but the concern with that is that might delay another month or two. So this action is only for the 10 or so feet deep and 60-foot wide area of this property. The village is going to be doing a comprehensive review of these old alleyways to see what we do and do not need. And then I would encourage us to look at them all. We have dozens of these little pockets. That'll be great little fixes.
I cut through this one more than once.
It used to be, a lot of it used to have like utilities going through those
No,
back.
this one was the quick one, and he came off the walkway to cut up through back to get to like the fairgrounds and everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Van, that brings up a good point I forgot to mention. State law is very clear that any existing easements or utility right-of-ways are maintained,
Right.
even in the event that the road no longer is held there. Those are active for 5 years. After that 5 years, I believe, then those utility companies can choose to say, yeah, we want to keep it, or no, it's not needed for us either. In this case, there's no public or village utilities in that area.
No.
Side note too, I appreciate that you include the law.
Welcome. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep reading it.
I fell asleep reading everything, so.
A lot of stuff to take in, but I'll make a motion that we approve 20-04 in support for vacating public-owned alleyway.
Second.
Motion by Van, seconded by Bob to approve Resolution 2004, supporting vacating public-owned alleyway. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, Resolution 2005, the COPS grant.
As Officer Bach said, that the village has, for working on almost 5 or 6 years, has been hoping for a grant opportunity to help fund some of our staffing issues in their police department. This COPS grant is a federal opportunity that provides funding at a 75% federally funded level for full-time officers. There's a cap on the amount you can collect, but our pay rates at that level would be more than okay. Grants like these are tied to a 3-year window, so this grant would provide funding for 3 years and allow us to, in this case, we're proposing adding 1 additional full-time equivalent officer onto our list. It would be a 25% local, which on the second page you can see the amounts. In this case, the total amount of having an officer at current rates for 3 years would be $254,000, or just shy of that. The village portion would be $63,000 for the average, and in this case, just $20,750 a year at current rates. One thing that is real nice is because of how our system is set up with part-time officers filling full-time rotations, there's very little fiscal impact for us to apply for this grant. In point of fact, because we spend over $55,000 a year on part-time officers filling full-time, this grant's actually going to save us quite a bit of money over the 3 years, allowing us to catch up on some much-needed, well, first and foremost is any equipment that we haven't been able to purchase because of budget issues. Second of all, we've drained our funding reserves, so allowing us to maybe pool some of that money back in for a rainy day. And then third of all, allowing us to maintain this position longer. The one caveat to it is that the position is required to maintain for at least 12 months or 1 year after the 3-year cycle is up. Village staff is certainly aware of that, and we do have an avenue that's being discussed within police and fire to more than cover that full-time need. Again, because one officer's already funded so heavily out of part-time hours, we're only looking at a $13,000 a year difference to bring on a full-time officer. So if this doesn't occur, I would still encourage us to look at that. And I would also encourage the board, if we do apply for this and we're given this opportunity, please consider it a full-time permanent position, not just a 4-year push. That doesn't help provide stability long-term. While there are a lot of differences between needs and wants when it comes to government planning and needs in a budget or wants in a budget. This one is tied to safety of our community. The school district has for years entertained whether or not they want to look at a school resource officer. And while those puzzle pieces aren't in place yet for that opportunity, we do get called up to provide assistance and help to our schools on an almost at least 2 or 3, sometimes even a daily basis. That's great. That's appreciated. I'm glad that we're able to get officers in the school. This will give us an opportunity to ensure that we continue to maintain that forward. And it also provides stability within our system. Funding full-time rotations with part-time help can be a bit of a variable. What if that officer making decent pay gets offered a full-time position and out the door they are? So we're looking at this from a protection of ability standpoint. So again, while wants are important, this is one of those that I consider it's a good need. This is a commitment on the village's part that if we do apply for it by March 11th, the village is committing to the stipulations within that grant, which are the fund the position for the 3 years during the grant plus an additional year, and to ensure it. To me, this is an easy win, but I, of course, encourage the discussion here.
No, I agree with everything you said, Ben. What we've been working towards.
I mean, I don't know if everyone knows, we're currently kind of not skimping by, but I mean, it's thin what we have for coverage. Would you agree with, officer, would you agree with me on that? I mean, yeah, and I fully admit, I grew up law enforcement family, so I think of at night when they're working alone, and I don't know what this new officer would do, that'd be up to them to do, but I've said for 2 years I'd like to see it happen. This seems like a great opportunity to get at least one back on, because we used to have more. And I think if we have the ability to do it, which we think we do, we should take it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it gets to the point where, a lot of the shifts are 12-hour shifts, and those don't always overlap. Sometimes there's shortages of manpower or personnel to fill those shifts. Part-time has become another issue that a lot of departments are facing, for the simple fact is that they're getting hired pretty fast coming out of the academy. The academies only can put out so many a year, and they'll work part-time for a while for here, knowing that most likely they won't be full-time, just like a lot of other departments throughout the state. So once that opportunity comes, and a lot of them will travel great distances to get that full-time job, and they're gone. Well, meanwhile, the FTOs of the Osceola Police Department, like a lot of others, field training officers, they take that time out. I mean, it's months and months of ride-alongs and gradually being out on patrol by themselves. That's after the academy, and then all of a sudden they leave to another full-time position, which you can't blame them. But this is becoming more difficult as years go by. So if we have this opportunity for the grant program, I think we should jump on it as fast as possible and keep going forward on it for even more manpower down the line.
And yeah, I mean, it's also, we might not get it at all, so.
Right.
And to that fact, I think that if we don't, we need to really seriously look at how we take care of this without a grant.
Yep, I agree.
Agreed. Public safety, I think, is one of the most base functions of your government, so.
It is. It's function. I'll make a motion with that we approve 20-05, the authorization to submit the application for the 2020 COPS hiring program grant.
I'll second that.
Motion by Van, seconded by Deb. to approve the Resolution 2005 COPS grant. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. I would also, I know he's not here, but I'd like to thank Ron for the work he's been putting into that. I happened to be down there one day and saw the 5 different logins and 8 different passwords and everything. It's not an easy thing to even get started on it, so. Anyway, all right. Next item, permits and license. First beverage server operator's license for Stacy Nelson at PY Saloon and Grill.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Deb, seconded by Tim to approve. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Next item is a special event permit for the Cocoa Crawl on February 29th, 2020.
Just like to note that there's no fiscal impact for the village on this one. We got it in last minute, but easy wins like this one are really easy to pass.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that one, too.
I'll second.
Motion by Deb, seconded by Tim to approve the Cocoa Crawl special event permit. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, board, committee, commission, and agency reports. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. October 4th, 2019, Admin and Finance. November 5th, 2019, Planning Commission. December 16th, Police and Fire. January 2nd, Osceola Library Board.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Bob, second by Tim to approve. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Financial update?
Okay. Within your packet first, I'd like to, again, this time of the year, show off some of the tax information where we've collected. You'll notice that overall, the village is collected about where we expected to be. It's a sheet that came in the supplement. Again, pardon all the terms and words. One side is your real estate and the other side is personal property. One interesting thing that I just found out today, that after the cutoff date for submissions of personal property, if a business chooses to pay theirs late, then the villages or the communities receive a higher benefit of that. So just for what it's worth, if we see any delinquents come in, then we begin to see a higher benefit for that. On the real estate side, though, it should be noted that over $2.8 million was collected, of which there's still 1.196 or 1.2 million that is on what you consider the payment or the installment plan. That means they paid their first half, and then they have until end of July to pay the rest. And then delinquent is the amount that chose not to even make any impact on theirs at all. Overall, so from a property tax standpoint, we're looking at well over half of it was paid on time, which is nice to see, and the bulk of it will be paid off in July. And then some of the special assessments are below there. I would also like to note that this is the time of the year where we collect a lot of our property tax revenues. We get some state and local aids, but the bulk of it is right now. The second half of our revenue collection is our big state aids, transportation aids, and others. Those will continue to trickle in throughout the year. Again, without having 2019's final audit done, I'm hesitant to provide you with final year-end numbers. But thanks to some of the emergency measures the village had to do, and some luck that we've had, we're sitting okay. So we're looking pretty strong this time of the year. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll have some of the 19 preliminary numbers starting to show through. And we'll be able to give you a much more detailed picture. And that's all I have.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Approval of vouchers payable.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable or the vouchers.
I'll second.
Motion by Deb, seconded by Tim to approve the vouchers payable. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Discussion and action on any other appropriate items? Bob?
Nope.
Dan?
Nope.
Okay. The only thing I'll say is, again, the census will be happening, and just, it's important that we get the max amount of numbers. One other reason is because I remember when the liquor license debate was going on last year, that is how we get another one, is if we get another 500 residents, so. Anyway, Deb?
Just a reminder, I know Ben brought it up, the February 18th is a spring primary, not to be confused with the April 7th, which is the spring election and the presidential preference primary. This one is very thin on the ballot, and if you're interested in it, one of the best websites is My Vote Wisconsin, has tons of information. But just remember, voting for that, it will be held here. If you're in the village, the April 7th one will be the one that has the presidential preference, which is partisan primary, the village and school board elections, and the referendum. So if you come next week, please come next week. It's not going to be as much as some people think on there.
Hopefully I didn't miss this because I was late. Sorry about that. I was at a parent-teacher conference. But I know some mention was made about housing, and the housing study wrap-up is coming on the 17th.
Yeah, he was here.
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
Thank you. All right, and with that, the next item is Village Board will consider going into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851C for purposes of reviewing administrator job performance and 6-month probationary period.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll say. Yep. Go ahead, Bob. You can have that.
Motion by Van, seconded by Bob. To go into closed session, we will need a roll call vote. So Bob? Van? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Eyes all around. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
If you want to wait around till we're out of closed session, we will have, quickly.
Of course. Sure you can.